Okay, so over that weekend, after speaking with the risk manager and replaying the conversation, it stuck out. That's when it stuck out that the hospital didn't do everything. And she said that they didn't do everything that they could have done. Everything was still so fresh. My mind was not there. And I know those of y'all out there watching the video probably have picked out a dozen signs or more that something was wrong. And that is so easy to do from the outside looking in. Okay. To be able to tell me, well, you should have did this, you should have did that, you should have noticed. Look, there's nothing you can say to me that's going to beat me up more than I have beat myself up. I stopped beating myself up when I actually realized and believed that the staff had a job to do, whether I was there or not. So, with that said, I called Vicki Haddock on Monday and I asked her, was there going to be a criminal investigation? And she said that the hospital had already investigated. I was like, no, I mean a criminal. I want an outside investigation. I don't trust y'all's investigation. I want an outside investigation done. I took it upon myself then to drive to Greenville, and I went to the police department because I wanted the police to investigate. And the police told me that they didn't have jurisdiction over the hospital, even though the hospital was in the city limits. Okay. They told me they didn't have jurisdiction over the hospital because the hospital had their own police. Okay, so if I want an investigation, I have to go to the hospital and ask their police to investigate. That's what they told me. So I went to the hospital and I spoke with somebody at the desk and told them, what I wanted, that I want to talk to your police. And she asked me what was it regarding. And I told her that my daughter had died there and I want an investigation, and that the police department had told me that I had to talk to their police first. So she tells me to go have a seat and somebody will be with me. I went and sat down and I waited and waited. Seemed like a long time, but it might have been 20, 30 minutes that I waited. And a lady came in. I told her, I said, well, I'm waiting for the police. She said, well, you have to talk to risk management before you can talk to the police. Is that Vicki Haddock? And she said, yes, ma'am. I said, no, I don't want to talk to her. I want to talk to the police. And she said, well, you can't talk to them unless you talk to Vicki Haddock. I cannot talk to your police unless I go through Vicki. That's the way it works. I didn't want that because Vicki worked for the hospital. Yeah, she came to my house and sat in my living room and told me things that was very surprising because I had never heard of a hospital sending their goons out to anybody's house admitting fault or guilt or anything of that nature before, which means that something big had to be up that they were trying to put a lid on before it got out. So I ended up leaving Greenville. After I got home, I called the Pitt County Sheriff because I wanted them to investigate. And they told me that they didn't have jurisdiction because the hospital was in city limits, that the Greenville Police Department had jurisdiction over the facility. And I said, they told me that the hospital police had jurisdiction over the hospital, and they did not have jurisdiction over the hospital. And he said, well, the hospital's in the city limits, so the police department does have jurisdiction over the hospital. Okay, so the next time I spoke with Vicki Haddock, I asked her again about an investigation being done, an outside investigation. And she again said, in cases like this, okay, in cases, plural, like this, that they are required to talk to the SBI. Not FBI. FBI, SBI. She said SBI. Okay. And I got off the phone with her and I looked to see if there was an SBI office in Greenville, North Carolina. And there was. So I said, okay, these must be who she talked to. So I called that office and I spoke with an agent, and I'm not going to give the SBI agent's name, but he didn't have anything in his system on my daughter, or anything in his any notes or anything of having spoken with anybody from the hospital. I said, so she lied to me? He said, and I would be very upset about that if I were you. So I got off the phone with him. I'm like, why is she lying? So then I called, that week, I called the district attorney's office and I spoke with one of the assistant district attorneys. He seemed interested in what I had to say, but I guess this might have been on Friday, the 20th, that I had spoke with the DA's office. So that weekend, I'm like, I'm staying up all night now trying to figure out, why is she lying? Why did Vicky Haddock lie to me? What are they trying to hide? What do they have to lose? I'm not sure, but what are they trying to hide? And I started looking up information. I decided to Google, something about the restraints and the procedures or protocol or something like that. And that's when I ran across the CMS, that's Center for Medicaid and Medicare Services, or it might be Center for Medicare and Medicaid Services, but it's a federal office called CMS. On their website, they have all the federal rules, okay, all their laws that govern facilities. Who does the hospital answer to? I know it's a facility. It might be public, it might be private, but it's got to be some place that the facility, or some person, some entity that the facility has to answer to. I was looking at all these different rules and stuff, and I got to the ones regarding restraints, and that's when I realized that they had broken that particular federal law dealing with the restraints. So I couldn't wait for Monday to come. I called the assistant DA back and told him that I had found why they were lying. I said, it's got to be this right here. And that man no longer wanted to help me. His whole demeanor had changed. He went from helpful to cold. I mean cold. The man told me that there was nothing he could do. He didn't believe any crime had been committed, and that his boss felt the same way. Okay.